Why did you not follow protocol in any way whatsoever?
Today I saw something on my run. Immigrants.
We do live near a border.
Ayúdame, por favor! The man ran off with the baby.
Is the baby okay?
Thank you for coming to StarNet Studios. I'm Andre Tucker, and I have a busy person with me. She's worn a lot of hats. She is a casting director. She also works as a producer, director. She's been in front of the camera as well in films like The Fast and the Furious. And I'd like to say hello to Renee Garcia. Thank you for coming, Renee. How are you today?
Great. How about you? Thank you for inviting.
Oh, you're very welcome. So tell me this. Okay, so as I mentioned, you've done several different things in the film industry, and you've done the producing, acting, directing, you've done writing. Which one of those, how did it start for you? Which one of those things was the first thing when you got into the industry?
Well, ever since I was 8 years old, I knew I wanted to work in Hollywood, and I didn't know what. My parents took me to Universal Studios, and I just fell in love with the whole filmmaking process. And so, because of my look, a lot of people are like, well, you should be an actress and a model. And, and it turned out to be the Universal Pictures film, The Fast and the Furious. At the time, my paycheck said Redline. 2 weeks before the film came out, they changed it to The Fast and the Furious, which look at the huge franchise now. Like, you couldn't even think of it being called Redline before. And I got my union card right away. Yeah, and so from there, I was, modeling and acting, but I was also talent scouting. Like, everyone's like, oh, you have such a good personality. You know other people who are like you that are easy to work with. So, I managed my own career. I got myself The Fast and the Furious and everything else after that, and all my modeling gigs. So he was like, if you can do it for other people, do you think you can do it, for yourself and other people? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And then at the very end, I was auditioning with actors that I represented, and, I would get the call back and they wouldn't, and I would see their look on their face, and I had to make a decision of where are my talents going to be best at, in front of the camera or behind the camera. And for me, I sat down. My heart is more with helping people, and I like the filmmaking process, so I decided to go behind the scenes after that, which was the best decision I could have ever made, because then I became a casting director and producer and fell into directing. I was casting a project and the director fell through last minute, and the producer was there at the auditions or the callbacks, and all the actors kept saying, Renee, you're so good at directing, you should be a director. So he heard that, and then, I come in and start directing, and everyone's like, you've never directed before? And it was just like really natural for me. Like, I love directing actors, which casting directors, the same thing. So, yeah, and I started my production company called Dream for Dreams Productions, because it's like my dreams came true. Now I want to help other people's dreams come true. And so, yeah, and I love storytelling, and I love, all the facets of filmmaking, even the hard parts. And yeah, my career has grown a lot, and I'm really happy that, I'm a different type of casting director. They call me like an actor's cheerleader or an actor's casting director, because I'm there for the actor. On my film, I just directed Immigrant Mother. The actors, I was like, well, they came up to me and said, I really like the way you direct. And I'm like, well, tell me why. And they're like, we just love your energy. Like, you're never tired. You're running. And they're like, every facet. So you're paying attention to every single thing, and including our acting. And then you make and having a good time and enjoying the filmmaking process, and you challenge us, but you know how to explain things so that we could understand. And and you tell us so we're not allowed to say sorry on set because we don't have to be perfect. We're allowed to make mistakes. That's a part of being a human being, you know, and then you never know what's going to come out of it. So yeah, so that's what they told me about directing, and that I should keep it up. So I'm going to keep doing that.
Right. So speaking of one of the things that you've directed and produced and everything, Immigrant Mother, very relevant content that's going on like right now. I mean, we know when we're having this discussion, we know what year, we know what time, and 100 years from now, if some ways, well, let's just say not 100, but just years from now in the future, there'll still be a lot of relevance. And tell us a little bit about the story of Immigrant Mother.
Yes, I wanted to tell a story, and the executive producer, I'm Mexican American, but I'm for and the executive producer, he had already seen my work with directing, and he wanted to work with me. And so he personally sought out, and he was like, hey, let's make a story about immigrants, because he's an immigrant, and, you know, he's Ukrainian. So I was like, oh, that's kind of a neat mix. Like Immigrant Mother is about a Ukrainian rookie police officer, a female police officer, and her day in the life working by the border, San Diego, Mexico border. And herself. And fateful day on her run, she come across as immigrants migrating the border with a baby. And that becomes her main concern. And so the story follows her where she doesn't give up. Like, she wants to know, like, what happened, their whole story and stuff. So I wanted to blend, and then it takes place in 2010 also, because I want to take the politics out of the border wall. And yeah, so I was like, you know what, let's change the date to 2010 so no one thinks, oh,
Right.
That's going on now. So people would pay attention to the story. And my story that I wanted to tell was actually about ending human trafficking. So that's the main thing. A lot of people, who are Mexican or American feel like everyone that's crossing the border are families, and they're not. There's drug traffickers, there's people who kidnap the kids or the mothers and use them so they look like they're a family. And about statistics so that people realize how much money, it's $1 billion industry with human trafficking, and so that's what the film basically is about. And I'm the female director, and the lead is the female police officer and stuff. And so we just wanted to do something different, not the same old, border story and migrant story, just something different. And then it's heartfelt at the end. So it's not like super drama at the very end. You feel really good about everything. And, you hear the story, but you walk away, not where it's like ingrained in your head where you're like bawling, like, oh, right. It's too dramatic or too sad. It ends like in a very heartfelt way. And so I believe that's, we got nominated for Venice Short Films Festival. And we actually just found out over this weekend that we won an award, and we won Best Actress.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, she has to do an action scene in it. So I had to do stunt training with her. So that Ukrainian, so she speaks Ukrainian in it, and then speaks Spanish, and then her partner is American, so he's trying to like speak Spanish and Ukrainian. He like messes it up, So so it was really great that people, she was like, hey, I think I can do the Spanish, because she's got to translate, to the people who are the migrants who are Mexican crossing it. So people were like surprised that, hey, she learned Spanish and stunts for this. So
wow. Okay, so you have the Immigrant Mother, and then you also have another project you've recently worked on. I'm sorry. So you have that, and you also have Me and My Girlfriend that you've worked on, and so I'll ask you a little bit about the plot of that in a moment. But when you're casting, I mean, obviously you clearly made a great choice. I mean, with someone who won the award, and congratulations again. So what is the casting process like for either Immigrant Mother or Me and My Girlfriend? Like when you're making decisions about who is right for this film, like how's that come about? What's some of the work behind that?
Well, I would say every project I work on is completely different. You can't just say, oh, everything's like this, because it's not. And I think that's the exciting thing I like about working in my field, is that every project is different and has different variables. When I have to attach star names, it's grueling. It's long works. I don't sleep. I don't eat, wondering who my star names are. With Immigrant Mother, I'm over here, to have opportunity in Hollywood, and I just like the way she looks. She has done a lot of projects in the Ukraine. I don't. For me, as a casting director or even a director, I can just watch their audition and put it on mute and know if they're a good actor by their facial expressions. And so that's what I noticed with her. She was like, the camera just stole her face and her facial expressions. Like when we're on set, I was like, okay, give me those, $1 million facial expressions. You're really stand out. Oh yeah, every process is different. I just finished casting another film called Woman in the Maze, and then everything going on with COVID for the last 2 years. Everything's been via Zoom. I even did Immigrant Mother casting via Zoom. As soon as they opened up everything, I'm like, we have to shoot now, and it ran out, and we had to shoot this film right when they opened up things. And then just recently for Woman in the Maze, I just finished doing the casting on. Our callbacks was the first time in Hollywood that I got to be in person. Now I can see that too now, and it's just, you can see more of the person. They're more opened up. You can get a feel for them. I still was just in person. It's just a whole entirely different experience.
Okay. So tell me this. I mean, I remember when we spoke, communicated earlier, you had mentioned that as a casting director, you may not necessarily know where some of the films that you are working on or have worked on, like where they will appear or who they get picked up on or who they get picked up by. But certainly as a producer director, you may have a little bit more knowledge. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where we may see, even if it's just clips of some of your work, whether it be a clips or the full production of it, just where we may be able to find some of it.
Yeah, everything, especially going on right now, everything's streaming. You can go on my IMDb and click on stuff and look up, Amazon Prime or time. Like my dad was just on Netflix and he's like, hey, your film with Dolph Lundgren, which he's an Aquaman and Expendables. He's like, oh, your film's on Netflix. I'm like, oh, it is? So I don't even know half of the time, or somebody will text me and be like, oh, I just saw your film at this screening and I didn't even know about it. When that's the casting. So usually it's like, okay, thanks, you got us our cast. We went to production, now we're in post, and now moving on with the film. That's why we're kind of called like about casting directors, because it's true. Like a lot of times, like they'll be thanking the actor for their award, and then they never mention the casting director, who was the one got them there. So I didn't take the position for any hierarchy or any honorable mentions or anything like that. It's a selfless thing. I just enjoy, making a script come to life and seeing who gets to play the part, which is exciting, whether it's a celebrity or it's someone new. So you have, you have complete control. With my film, Immigrant Mother, it's in the film festival markets right now. I want to I have it now. I want to have like laurels of, best actress, best this before I put it on Amazon Prime. They take shorts, which I can get my film there, but I don't want people just to pass by it. There's so much streaming content. I want someone to be like, oh, it won best actress. Now I want to see this, or oh, it won best female director or whatever, best editing or what have you. So at least just another thing, and I think a lot of people don't have attention spans, so that's why like Amazon Prime is like picking up short films, because people have a small attention span, and sometimes people don't have 2 hours or 3 hours to like sit down a whole film. Like maybe they're like oh, cool, her film's 20 minutes. Awesome. I can put it on in the background while I'm, getting ready or whatever, what have you, and they get their story real quick and, invest. That market's growing a lot bigger for that reason.
Right. I mean,
So,
there
yeah.
was a whole streaming service. I mean, it's Quilby, I believe it was called. I mean, I think it's discontinued now, but that was the idea behind it, was short form content. But I think that's great to have the shorts out there, because someone, when they're traveling somewhere, the subway, the bus, or if they're standing in line somewhere, then that's a great time to take a quick look at, just some great videos like what you're working on. So that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, QB didn't work out. I'll be honest with you. The reason why it didn't work out was because of their content. And then they used all of their funds that they had to attach star names to these short form contents without using it to really project the network. Like Netflix push them, here, join here, do this. They didn't do that. They were worried more about the star names and having to pay them and create it instead of pushing their platform advertise. You can't, you have to gain a popularity for it. Otherwise, no one's going to go running to it and paying for a subscription for it. And that's where, my mind pops in as a producer. That's like a producer aspect of knowing what's best for the film. Like I already had like Amazon Prime, like, oh, we'll take it. And I'm like, no. Again, not just as a director, but as a producer standpoint, no, let's win some awards, some acknowledgement for it. And then people will want to watch.
Yep. Timing is everything.
Shit.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what my other productions I have in development as well. It's like, when's the best, which one should go first? When's the best time? Because, there's things that are relevant in the world right now.
Right.
For me to make this film and create it in a shorter amount of time, because it's not a feature, and then it be so relevant with, a female police officer and the immigrant situation, and people speaking more about ending human trafficking. So I was like, time when there's an interest of it, people want to be educated and learn more about it versus how it was before, where they were just one-sided.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I said, I mean, very relevant content, and people can learn from what's going on, and just have it present of mind. That's I think that's very important. So we will keep a lookout for Immigrant Mother whenever it lands on Amazon or any other service it may find itself on, and we'll also keep an eye out for your other work, and of course we'll look on IMDb and other things. But I just want to tell you, Miss Renee, thank you very much for coming on, and I appreciate your time. And once again, congratulations on the recognitions and the awards and of your work, and look forward to seeing what else you have going on in the near future.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and me being able to hopefully inspire people. Anyone could be a filmmaker. Little kid, and just you being a risk taker and believing in yourself and creating good content for people that want to watch it.
That's right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and that's a good message, and I know people are going to be listening to that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.